Okay, Cass, let's continue to look ahead to the Euros, and specifically we're focusing on England right now. We were talking about the injury, the situation, and how Gareth Southgate, I don't know where Darren came from, where Gareth Southgate had to cut his 33-man squad down to that 26. Mason Greenwood obviously omitted due to injury, and then there were 6 others that missed out. And you were saying that perhaps Jesse Lingard was unluckiest of the 6, perhaps. Trent Alexander-Arnold now has had to leave the squad with that thigh injury that he picked up in that Austria game. And Gareth Southgate has said that he will name his replacement after tomorrow's game against Romania. What was it you wanted to mention before the break? I cut you short. Over the weekend, was it injuries?
Well, there's 2 things that always bother me, is form and injuries going into tournament. I think you have to really consider who you're selecting with injuries, which England have had them problems and still going into a tournament with issues. Obviously, Henderson and Maguire, the standout ones. And you could probably put Rashford in there because he was clearly injured at the end of the season. Found himself on the subs bench a couple of times against Leicester and Fulham. He came on, and you could tell Marcus wasn't the same player. It wasn't just the Europa League final. The last sort of 10 games of his season, 1 goal, and he struggled. He looked like he was struggling, and probably because he'd had a shoulder injury and it was a bit of an issue. But you don't want injuries and form. You know, you don't want anybody going with bad form or in different form going into a tournament. It's not a good thing, because you've got to hit the ground running. You know, their group is tough. Anyone thinks England have got Croatia. Okay, they've got 8 players have got over 50 caps, right? Croatia are not going to be a walkover, okay? Scotland are a fast improving team. I watched them against Holland in midweek, and I thought they defended brilliantly. I thought Kieran Tierney was extraordinary, like he can be. I think they're a side that will give England issues. May not beat them, but England have got a tougher group. Czech Republic, I don't know too much about.
Walkover.
No, the first 2 I've mentioned are 2 tough games. You know, many a tournament, a shock can happen in the opening game. It would not be a big shock if Croatia beat England. They've got a lot of experience. Look at their midfield. It's full of experience, top players.
We will talk more about that a little bit later on, but you're absolutely right about the experience of Croatia in comparison to England's squad, which is very inexperienced. A lot of players with not that many caps to their name, really. Interesting, obviously, you mentioned Marcus Rashford there. He is somebody that's carrying that shoulder injury. And you're right. It seems as though England managers don't seem to learn from previous experiences of taking players into these major tournaments carrying some sort of an injury, or at least, in some cases, resting their hopes on a player who is injured. We know, obviously, the cursed metatarsal and how that has caused problems for players in the past. And you mentioned there Jordan Henderson, Harry Maguire. I know in midweek, I think it was Gabby Agbonlahor said it was along the lines of, it's pretty selfish of Jordan Henderson to be making himself available if he isn't yet able to prove his fitness. Do you go along with that a little bit? Should Jordan Henderson be actually just saying, I'm not ready, I'm not in the right place right now? Well, look, does that not ever happen with players?
Republic of Ireland have taken Kevin Moran went to America and he's injured, and I got injured in America. That was unfortunate. But Kevin Moran went injured, but we didn't have the depth of squad that England have got. You know, you got a lot of players with England of top quality. We had to sometimes take players who were carrying a knock or an injury that they might miss the first or second game. But that's how it was with Ireland. And I think Gareth has to show leadership there. Is take the decision out of a player's hands, because every player will be desperate to go and play. Just see the reaction of Trent when he came off injured. He was absolutely devastated. He's missing the Euros. Now, Jordan Henderson is putting himself up there. And I do think Gareth really wants experience, because one thing they haven't got, and you touched on, is a lot of experience. So he wants to take Maguire, Henderson, because he believes they're leaders in his squad. Not just on the pitch, off it as well. But I think you can take it out of the players' hands. You just, as a manager, you go, sorry. I think Jordan, did I say midweek? His last game was like the February the 27th, something like the 20th. Yeah. You know, it's a long time ago. That's not 3 weeks at the end of a season and you've played a lot of games. That's months ago since his last game. That, to me, is a risk that I didn't think was worth taking.
So with Trent Alexander-Arnold, as you say, he was absolutely gutted, and he put that on social media as well after the confirmation that he would miss the Euros. Who do you think should go in his place? And who do you think Gareth Southgate will pick? Will they be two different players?
Well, I've said Jesse. I think, he deserves that because of how the level of performance he's shown in the second part of the season. He is clearly, again, what I talked about form, he's clearly the best player, one of the best players in the England squad.
Experienced as well.
And
really.
he's 28 years old, Jesse, and he's done so well this second part of the season. I think he justifies his place. Do I think what Gareth might do? Well, if you're going for logic and you're going to go, well, he's a right-sided midfielder come fullback, then you'd probably have to go Ben White, wouldn't you? That would sound the logic if that's what you think you need, and you need to move, I don't know, you move Walker in as a back three, you might think you need someone. Ben White makes a logical sense. I don't know whether he'd do that because he's such a rookie. But logic would say that, well, if he's gone, surely Ben White would be the option.
We know one of Trent Alexander-Arnold's strengths is his set pieces. That's what James Ward-Prowse also can do. He misses out. He was one of the 6 to be cut. Could he be one of those players that Gareth Southgate might be thinking, just for his set pieces alone? Yeah,
I didn't think James played as well as he did in the first half of the season. And yes, you're right, set pieces are very vital. I just don't think Gareth thinks he's going to play him. I think he'll take him, but he'll say, well, he's not going to be on set pieces because he's not going to make my starting 11. He probably won't come on as a sub. That's how I feel about James Ward-Prowse. Didn't think he'd done. I think there's, England have got enough about them to find. I mean, it weren't so long ago. Trippier stuck one in the top corner against Croatia. Okay, from a free kick. That weren't too far along, was it? It was only 2018. If you decided to play him, then you could argue, well, he can certainly take free kicks. He's proved it enough times. So I don't see that as the biggest issue.
Well, we'll find out then who will replace Trent Alexander-Arnold in the England squad after tomorrow's game with Romania.